Yo. All right.
Can you take the Red Bull off the table?
Nope.
Ain't sponsoring.
One day. We'll manifest it.
Like, free product placement. To be fair, you got it the other way around.
It is what it is.
Anyway, do you know what? Where do we even start today? Because obviously the final Mount offer's gone in, but then you've got the impending thing that we just spoke about of wondering whether it'd be better if Rice went to Arsenal, went to City. Us kind of coming to the realisation that the window was looking extremely bleak compared to our rivals anyway, and what it means for our prospects next season. Then you've got obviously De Gea looking like he's going out, and then we're going to get this enigmatic keeper who's a bit of a lunatic. I think Onana.
Getting Bartes vibes, me.
Bartes vibes. And then you've also had a report this morning saying that when we sign Mount, we still have more than enough budget to get a striker in. It should have been the case anyway.
There's also the report from Disco Mirror saying Glazers aren't sanctioning anything because they're selling, which is such an easy thing to say even if it's baseless, because the history of them owning the club suggests they don't really give a shit, so why would they give a shit when they're going?
Do you know what annoys me? Obviously, journalistically, I'm looking at it as the whole, obviously getting reports that have been like rephrased or being quite similar is one thing, but when you get like completely conflicting reports, it's a bit like, what are your sources and where they get it from? Because
who is talking?
Because you've had Disco Mirror say that Glazers aren't sanctioning any deals because they're selling, and then you've got, on the other hand, you've got people coming out saying, nah, United are allowed to go do their transfer business regardless of takeover. So then it's like, it's just a bit of guesswork, is it? It's just typical transfer window nonsense, really. But
there's a few things at play here, right? And you got to assume a $6 billion company with a CEO sitting in place, with the director of football, with all of those people, even if the Glazers decided 12 months ago that they were going to sign, it's in their interest to continue business operations as they were. Now, you might not increase transfer budgets in terms of like, let's do something extravagant, but there has to be an expectation of business as usual. Otherwise, you're devaluing your product. In the middle of this sale, there is a one window, realistically. Technically, there's two because there's the January one, but we know the big deals don't really happen in January. So there's essentially one opportunity for recruitment, and recruitment being the number one marker of success of a football club.
Yep.
There is one opportunity for in recruitment every single year. That's it. One opportunity. It's a 2.5 month window, 3 month window, whatever it is. And as that closes, your product is diminishing, because if United don't keep up pace, this is a moving train. And we know those Newcastle are potentially doing some shady shit, potentially doing some smart shit. We don't know.
Well, they've just signed Tonali, and then they're also linked heavily to Federico Chiesa as their new right winger.
Two bangers.
Bit of an upgrade on Jamal Murphy, that.
Bangers, absolute bangers.
And then Theo Hernandez, left back. Yeah.
So they could be doing a madness. You got to hope that the Champions League football and the pressure to compete in the Premier League is maybe a bit too much for this squad that has not really experienced that a little bit. So there might be a bit of a bump in the road for them. You got to presume Liverpool will be back fighting amongst it. Arsenal will be there or thereabouts. Don't think they'll be challenging for a title bout, but they'll be 4th or 5th.
They'll challenge with Rice.
Now, if they get Rice, that could be the difference in keeping them in top 4 or seeing them out of it.
Should we ask the audience that same question I asked you?
Right. I'm going to phrase it differently to get the answer. What would be the best for United if Rice goes to City or Rice goes to Arsenal? I'll give you my thinking, then you give yours, and then you lot pile in on the comments. My thinking is, if he goes City, it doesn't matter. United should not be thinking about catching Manchester City in the next 12 months. Realistically. You can try, and you can see how it goes. You might do what Arsenal did this year, start off really well and just keep riding high. But realistically, there's a couple more windows we need to be thinking about. Cement ourselves inside the top 4, do better than we did last year, but to think that we're going to overtake City in the next 12 months is probably dreaming a little bit. So that being the case, I think United are competing with the likes of Arsenal this year.
Yeah.
Now, if Arsenal get Rice, could that separate them and us? Because at the moment we haven't signed anyone or got rid of anyone. That could be the difference. So I think if he goes to City, it almost makes no difference. He doesn't make them any more likely to win the league. He doesn't make them less likely to win the league. They're the favourites for the league. So I think him going City, for me, is preferential over him going Arsenal because I think we can get above Arsenal. We could come second. We could easily argue about coming second next year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one. So that's my thoughts. What's yours? And you lot dive in the comments for yours.
That's a very, very good point. I think it's the lesser of two evils, really. But in my head, I was thinking it's probably better he goes to City. But then I was thinking, if he goes to City, it's still, however way you want to phrase it, it still strengthens them at the same time. And we're talking about our noisy neighbours who have just got noisier and noisier. They've just won the treble. They've just won 3 Premier League titles in a row. I think if they sign Declan Rice and Kovacic and then get Gvardiol, I think they're pretty much nailed on to win again next season. And obviously we end up catching... The gap between us and Arsenal is obviously still slimmer than if Arsenal get Rice. But I'm looking at it as do we really want City to then win 4 in a row, 5 in a row?
You know what,
and almost be stronger.
I'm not counting them titles.
Do you know? No, but that's they're both shit solutions, really. Obviously, in an ideal world, I think Rice isn't a £100 million player, but I still think he's a player that if he goes to the likes of a City and an Arsenal, he's extremely beneficial to him. Just because obviously his versatility, he can be like a bit of a centre half, he can be a midfielder, he can play an 8.
My major drawback with Rice is the price.
Yeah, I think the price. On player and ability wise, I think he is a very, very good player, and I can see, especially systematically, how it can be a massive asset to City or Arsenal. But I just think they're both poor, but him going to City almost makes them like a definitive juggernaut because they've got an aging team, Man City. It's getting up there in age. I think the average age is like 28, 29, and it's not getting any younger. I think if they sign a Declan Rice where you can get like 8 to 10 years out of him, it's not ideal, I think. I think I'd rather see him get the likes of a Kovacic who's 29 and get someone who's older and kind of get those short-term people in than getting in a staple piece like Declan Rice that makes sure that City is strong for the next 10 years. But it's the same with Arsenal, really. But if he does go to Arsenal, I think it's almost nailed on that the top 3 next season will be City, Arsenal and Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to be back in a big way, and then we're scrapping with the likes of Tottenham, Newcastle and Chelsea for 4th place.
I think Tottenham will be in that argument.
You don't think? Maybe not. I think more Newcastle and Chelsea, but I'm looking at it as the way our window's
going.
Either
way, it's 6 into 4.
Yeah. The way our window's going compared to rivals is the concern. I think rivals look like they're strengthening, being a bit more ambitious, and United looked like we're going to have a very underwhelming window where we don't actually improve that much. And that's very, very damning. Obviously, there's still time left, but it doesn't look very promising with our owner situation, the players that we're after, and our budget as well.
James O'Brien says, are you boys seriously look at Chelsea? No, I literally just said I think they're going to be in the mix there. And here's why they're going to be in the mix. They got no European football. That means Potter's got the opportunity to leisurely walk in on a Monday morning, go over his system, do loads of tactical and technical stuff with them before they even get to, here's what we got to do at the weekend for our opposition. It's a dream. It's perfect. Imagine that much time on the training pitch where you can spend Monday through Wednesday just working on your own shape. Our plan. Here's how we get good. Spend Thursday, Friday looking at the opposition. Go out Saturday, win the game. Fucking hell, what a dream. Well, we've been playing every 3 days for what felt like 4 months. It's recovery. Fucking hell, we've got a game tomorrow. Game. Fucking mayhem. Absolute mayhem.
It is mayhem. And we literally said before the window that next season obviously it won't be as Ten Hag will get more time to implement his tactics. He's a year more experienced in the league. And we made progress by becoming top 4 where probably a lot of people thought we wouldn't. We won a title. Not a title, I wish. We won the Carabao Cups, we won a trophy, we won a bit of silverware. We said this window is going to be so important not solely just about United and where they're at in terms of trying to rebuild, but in terms of what our rivals are doing, because it's interlinked. You've got to see the fact that Arsenal have a bit of a resurgence going on.
Yellow Dean says, how signing Onana and Mount not improvement? For one, we haven't signed them. Factually.
Yeah, we haven't signed them. We haven't signed them.
We haven't signed them yet. Until they're signed, they ain't signed. So that's literally counting chickens before they've hatched. You can't count them. They're not here.
Yeah.
We ain't even got eggs yet.
It is interesting that, because people said that Havertz has been signed as a replacement for Xhaka in that 8 role.
No, far too attacking.
Far too attacking for one. The amount of games I watched with Arsenal where Xhaka and he gets a lot of criticism, but his like defensive awareness and his like responsibility and stuff like that is very good. Especially when you've got Odegaard on the other side, who's very attacking and not in that kind of style. I think if they go with Havertz, Rice, Havertz and Odegaard as a midfield three, I don't know, that balance looks a bit weird to me. But anyway,
on that, I think we're potentially going to move to something that looks very, very similar to that with Bruno, Mount and Casemiro. I would argue United is a little bit more combative. Yeah. I'd say it's a little bit more what's the word? It's not refined. It's a little bit more silky, Arsenal's, I would say. I think United's is a little bit more combative. It's a bit rougher. But there's a lot more energy in United's, I think. Yeah. I think and here's the major flaw. You said it the other day, and I think it might be the best thing you've ever mentioned tactically. And it was, the more I've thought about it, I've gone, that's actually fucking genius. If Rice goes to Arsenal and he plays as a single pivot behind Havertz and Odegaard, he's getting next to no protection. He's going to be asked to do way more work and distance than he's ever had to do in his life. He's playing about 40 metres further up than he ever has at West Ham. It's an alien.
Not as a single pivot. If it's a single pivot, he'll be playing just as deep, won't he? He'll be playing where Partey played.
Yeah, but it's still higher than he would have been playing at West Ham.
Because he's playing in the opposition half more.
Yeah, that's the one. Whereas, so what Ronaldo said to me the other day is, Rice is going to occupy where John Stones is, and John Stones is going to move back. And the more I thought about it, I've gone
for City.
If he went to City, and I went 1,000,000%. Pep's going to no longer continue to play Stones out of position. He's going to get the position, and he's going to move Stones back to his position where he can still be effective. And I went, yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do.
That's exactly what they do. Where people thought, why would City sign Declan Rice if they've got Rodri? But the Stones role would be like, Declan Rice is more perfect for the Stones role than Stones is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, because Declan Rice in himself is half centre back.
He's technically still playing in the same sort of position that he plays for West Ham.
Yeah.
In that position, he's in a double pivot.
Yeah.
So it's way closer to what he's currently using, even though it's totally like City and West Ham couldn't be further apart in terms of how they play. But his role in that team is eerily similar. Like you said, it's a hybrid centre half holding midfielder role. I think that's fucking genius from you to spot that, and I think that's exactly what Pep is going to do. He's not going to replace Gundogan. He's going to replace Stones, and they will probably sign another to replace him.
No, replace Stones. Stones will still play. He was well too good last season not to play.
Do you think he's going to play right back?
I think he's going to play that kind of right centre back, right back hybrid that Akanji did.
And is Guardiola going to play on the left?
Yes. Do you know what I mean? So I think, and then they'll play Kovacic maybe where Gundogan played. But I don't know. Like,
I think they'll get someone better. I think they'll get someone even more attacking for that role.
I don't know. Whichever way.
Maybe Foden.
Maybe Foden. That could be true. But this is what's worrying me, because we're talking now about the way that City and Arsenal, who we're trying to catch, are improving, and the scary prospects that they've got going, especially with them signing Timber. And then you're looking at United, and it's like, we signing Mason Mount, good player, but you're thinking where and how does he fit? I know we did a video thinking systematically how it could work.
And I think that works.
It does work, but my only concern with that is Casemiro. Has Casemiro still got the legs to play as a single pivot with two kind of progressive forward-thinking players with Mount and Bruno ahead of him? But then I thought, to be honest, he played a lot last season as a double pivot with Eriksen, who's basically a traffic cone anyway out of possession.
That was where it crumbled. Yeah. And I wonder, like, if United signed Mason and Mount and Rice, if United signed Mount and Rice, I think that would be 4 going into 3. I think you would have 4 first choice players. So who are we playing this week? City away, Rice, Casemiro, Bruno. Who are we playing? Fulham at home. Mount, Bruno, Casemiro.
United was never going to be able to sign Mount and Rice, though.
Maybe not.
Do you know what I mean?
But I thought that was the one that made sense.
Do you know what made me think that?
So the other option is you sign Mount, you get Rabiot on a free. You do the same thing.
True. I think I can actually picture United going in for Rabiot on a free.
I think that's how it's going to be.
I think I can see that happening, but with the Rice thing, the reason why I started to warm...
One said there, Gunnar says, has Ronaldo seen Mount's defensive numbers? His defensive numbers are
compared
there,
to
though.
attacking.
It's not. Here's the thing, right? When you play in a double pivot, let's say me and Ronaldo are a double pivot next to each other now. I'm going to cover behind the right back, and I'm going to cover the right channel and the right half space, right? And Ronaldo's going to do it on the left. When you're a single pivot, you're prime Kante. I'm covering over there, I'm covering over there, I'm covering over there, I'm every fucking where, right? And that's why sometimes having a double is sound. And I think Casemiro in a double, if he had a Rice or a Rabiot, I think he still looks fucking switched on and on it. Look how much City and Brighton ran over Eriksen and Casemiro. They just took them out. They just weren't in the game.
Not enough
physically.
Legs. Not enough legs.
Physically just weren't in the game.
Not enough legs, and that's the issue. Is people saying Rabiot and Thuram. Thuram looks like he's AC Milan bound. People are scoffing at Rabiot. The thing is, Rabiot think because he's big and burlish and he's like 6'2", thinks that he's more of a defensive type. He actually isn't. A lot of Juve fans say that Rabiot defensively can actually lack a bit of discipline and he's often out of position and that, which is why when he plays, he always plays as like an attacking 8 of a midfield 3. So, because that's where he does his best work. He can arrive in a box. He's good in the air. He's very progressive in the way he dribbles with the ball. He carries the ball more better progressively than he passes it. But obviously, then you're looking at the extortionate wages and the fees, and you think like, United's still going to be going down that route. But I think United are going to end up being pressured into it, because if United are looking at what our rivals are doing, we have to be reactive. But sometimes being reactive can be a little bit dangerous, because it means that you've not really done pre-planning and it's not really been thought about correctly. Do you know, the director of football issues?
That's the problem, is United are far too often reactive and never proactive. You know, if you look at how City have approached this, just won a treble, waiting on the knock on the door from the police about the charges, but immediately,
I think I'll get away with that. I think
probably,
you know that.
Well, rich people don't get caught. If they bring in Vardiol, who's one of the best defenders in the world, potentially one of the best defenders in the world, and they do what we suspect they're going to do, the depth they would have for their back 3 is embarrassing. And then bringing in Rice amongst that, and like we said, they've got options already within the club if they wanted to. They could play Grealish there and go with a more traditional winger. That might suit his game a little bit better. They might go with Foden there, because I think he'd be great in that Gundogan role.
Yeah, it's true. And obviously they might lose Bernardo Silva and they might lose Mahrez as well.
They've got how many academy players that are all pretty sick coming through?
Yeah, but academy players, do you know what I mean? I feel like they need to be primed. And I'm looking at, I thought Rice would go to City because I thought Rice and Mount are apparently best mates. Mount's Manchester bound, seemingly.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I got a suspicion that Rice is a United fan, but that doesn't mean fuck all, because I think Jack Grealish is a United fan as well. He hasn't looked like one the last 2 weeks.
I feel like if you're a United fan, if City are playing you $200,000 a week and you're winning trophies, I feel like that might change. It's the same way fucking Carragher's an Everton fan, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I think where you play and who you play for kind of changes things. Which, to be fair, I played for Liverpool for how long, and I don't really still have that much affinity towards him, but I still have a level of respect though. So it does adjust. I feel like weirdly enough, I feel like I hate City, and I definitely hate City and Arsenal more.
Yeah, weird.
But do you know what I mean? But I don't necessarily like Liverpool either. Like every Liverpool game I watch, I'm praying for them to lose. So I don't know. But I think that's just normal. Yeah.
Andrew there says City are literally doing what Fergie did for years, win the league and then improve the team and repeat. Yeah. If you slow down when you're number one, you're very quickly number two. And even doing what City are doing now, they'll fall off the top just because that happens. It's whether or not they can keep rebuilding while being at the top.
Yeah. I think we should get Gravenberch on loan now.
It's not a bad shout.
Gravenberch came out a few days ago saying that Bayern, he wish he was playing more, and his whole quote basically suggested, if I'm open to going loan somewhere, I'll move. I'll go. Do you know what I mean? And
that might be all that's open to us.
That's what I'm saying.
With the Glazers not sanctioning fuck all, that might be the move. Is that you got to get somebody on loan, and Gravenberch works. He's literally him alongside Casemiro. Oh, I like that.
He probably played a little bit more advanced, but he played with Ten Hag before. He knows his system. He knows the philosophy. I reckon Gravenberch is probably even more suited to the system than Mount might be. I don't think he might be necessarily as good a player. He's definitely he's younger though, but he's like.
I think if we got Mount, you would see an evolution of what we saw this year. I think if you got Gravenberch, you'd probably be an improvement on what we saw this year.
Yeah,
but it would look the same. Although saying that, I think it does seem like we're going to make a bid for Onana, which does sound like it's the death knell of David De Gea's career at Manchester United, and I'm mixed about that. I think he's the kindest way I could say it is we don't get value for money out of him anymore.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't think you need to be any harsher than that, really. I could say I think it's a mistake to re-sign him, and I think if there's an opportunity to bring somebody in, you could do it.
The De Gea discourse is sickening though. Like some of his dodgy form in the past year or so has basically have United fans saying that he's not a club legend, and just completely, recency bias, just disregarded anything that he's done positively for the club, which is insane.
He went to
me.
leave. Like someone said this actually. If he'd have left when Madrid were in for him, his status would have been unquestioned.
Yeah, he should definitely. How do you get?
GB says Onana pure train wreck. I don't think he is. I would prefer Costa. I think there's definitely. I can see what you were saying. There's a clanger in him that would be so high profile, like he'd try and nutmeg Haaland or something, get caught and get scored on.
Yeah, you're gonna reply to Dean B.
What's he saying?
Interesting question.
Why has he got a Manc accent? Oh, that's because there was a guy on Twitter earlier, a Newcastle fan, that his profile picture has got him posing with a fucking WWE belt as a 30-year-old man. Said you're probably not even from Manchester, you're probably from Surrey or something, like all United fans.
You know what he said?
Newcastle fans are weird because they've never had the spotlight on them like this.
And they've just dated, yeah.
They've never had the spotlight on them like this. And there's a forced rivalry happening with United, which is so funny. Because all they've got is cliches. They haven't got anything interesting to say. They've got, you're all glory supporters, we all support all. They've got nothing. They've got no fucking, it's the shit songbook that you get when you're in the ground. Yeah. It's like, oh, we'll race you back to London or something like that. And you're like, I literally had a City fan once shout, we'll race you back to London, as he was getting on a coach going to Gloucester. And I was like, I'm walking home from here. Like,
yeah. Do you know what? It's like they've just emerged out of nowhere, but with the most like confidence out of this one season. I feel like they've been waiting. I don't know if they've been held back for long. Obviously, to be fair, it's a bigger club than what they've shown in the past decade and a half.
Yeah.
So I think the fans have been waiting to kind of just come out, and they have forced a little bit of
the fans are getting
rivalry.
stick. They've never got stick. Newcastle have always come across as one sec. Let me just answer this. Sudeep says, "See, why has the sales news or rumours gone cold?" Well, technically, it was all under NDA. There shouldn't have been anything leaking out anyway. I imagine it's probably getting sewn up. There seems to be loads and loads of things where people are congratulating Sheikh Jassim on different like social media posts and this, that, and the other. It sounds like it's done. We will see soon. Anyway, the Newcastle fans, they've never had this sort of spotlight on them before. They've always kind of been everyone's, I'm not saying second club, but there's like apart from Sunderland, no one really hates Newcastle fans. Like, they've never won the Premier League, so no one really has been like hurt by them.
They haven't won a trophy in nearly 70 years.
Yeah, so they've not really won anything in colour. So no one really gives a fuck about them, apart from Sunderland. I'm sure Sunderland and Middlesbrough have all got a little thing with them, but I don't really run into many Sunderland fans on a daily basis, and the internet's not made it there yet, so it's no problem.
A lot of United fans might be half Sunderland fans at the moment. I'm not playing there, but yeah, go on.
So Newcastle have never had any sort of scrutiny as a fan base. As soon as the Saudi Arabia takeover came in, and what's really interesting is when it's United, there is scrutiny. There's scrutiny. There's been a lot of scrutiny on Sir Jim. There's been a lot of scrutiny on Sheikh Jassim, and there's been articles written in pontificating on all sorts of shit. When Saudi Arabia came in, there was very, very little of that. And Newcastle fans, to me at least, on the outside, as a fan base, the only people I saw doing anything about it was the LGBTQ magpie community. Nobody outside of them had anything to say about it. They all had the fucking headdress on. It was all fucking, like, just so embarrassing outside the ground celebrating it. There was never any sort of discourse about why this might be bad for Newcastle, why this might be bad for whatever. They just fully fucking bent over and loved it. So they're now starting to get a little bit of criticism because people are going, hang on, your owners are not good people. You're owned by a state. So it's the first time that them as a fan base have ever had any sort of criticism. So they tried to create a rivalry with United, and they're biting back a little bit because they've never had anything other than like praise or whatever. Like, think about the Newcastle fan base. They get told they're a big club all the time when they're not.
One sec. Picking and choosing super chats, I see.
What?
Have we missed any?
No, we've had 2 super chats. Who said that? Picking and choosing. Like, no, I was talking. I'm not just going to stop every fucking time a super chat lands. Tom Hutton says, can I see a world where you would get Mount and Rice, or they do 2 similar roles to justify the cost? No, I think they'd be totally different roles. I think what would be the problem more is that it'd be the cost and getting it sanctioned. It does seem like United have had some sort of a discourse, maybe off the record with West Ham though, because there's all sorts of talk United want to throw Elanga in there, Maguire in there, so someone's afoot, I think.
Nah, but our inability to sell players is a bit of a struggle, because sales was the only way that we were going to be able to get kind of some decent budget, because you're looking at Chelsea, they needed to do a fire sale anyway for their FFP issues, and they've sold Koulibaly, and they've sold Havertz, and they're going to sell Mount, and they've sold player after player. They've even sold Mendy. They've had a massive fire sale as it is, and it's still going to continue. And all of this is, the way they're operating is, this is all going to fund their Moises Caicedo signing. And it's, the way, no matter where you look at it, it's good business. And then United came into the window similarly thinking, unless we sell players and get rid of our deadwood, which we're awful at doing, then our budget is going to be restricted. And look, we're a decent amount into the transfer window, not massively long, but in terms of the season being over and having these stuff prepared,
Ten Hag did it months ago.
Yeah, we've not sold anyone. Do you know what I mean? And it looks like we're struggling to sell players. We're shopping Eric Bailly for $2 million.
You say we've not sold anyone. We've sold Zidane for less than £1 million.
Less than £1 million, and then Eric Bailly was. The report was United are hoping to get $2 million for Eric Bailly. Are you insane? Fully fledged international started week out from Marseille.
We don't need to sell Fred, right? Would you agree? We don't need to sell him. He's not, certainly I wouldn't call him deadwood. He's not first choice, but useful squad player. Yeah. Good in the opposition half for a press at least, and maybe change the tempo of the game. Yeah, I saw that Fulham. United are prepared to demand $20 million for Fred.
And Fulham,
what, for the first instalment?
And Fulham pulled out. Fulham said $20 million was too extortionate.
Fucking bananas. This is a player that we bought a few years ago, has played consistently since we bought him
for 50.
And you want to pay us less than that, and he's got what's he left on his contract? It might only be a year.
Premier League to Premier League transfer as well.
Do you know what I mean? That's insulting. Imagine you trying to get Daniel Levy.
That might be why Fred's got a year left, but I don't know whether United have an option on that. But maybe because he's got a year left, they think it's too expensive. Because I found that strange that Fulham thought $20 million was too expensive for him.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean? The Zidane deal is insane. The reason why Zidane deal is insane is because, as stated in his video, like, historically in the last few years, Chelsea have sold literal under-18s players, like, to reserve teams of Leeds, Brentford, etc. for more than that. So
Nikhil, right? This sort of comment comes up a fair amount, right? So he says, say Jassim comes in and no the goings on with the channel and Stretford Paddock, and he's watched scout reports and says, get him or get us, scroll up please, just a tiny bit, you don't need much, a scout or a sporting director role basis, am I taking it? Right. Whether or not that's ever going to be a realistic option, and Q-tip, it's not. The main reason being, not necessarily because the knowledge isn't good, the knowledge is good, right? But there is an expectation sometimes of, like United couldn't sign someone from the Bulgarian National Conference. They just couldn't. There's an expectation of where have you been before to justify that sort of transfer or that sort of thingy.
And can't take risks.
And can you imagine United go, yeah, we just appointed this YouTuber. Did he play fresh football? No. Used to be a QS on a scaffolding company. Can you imagine that United did that? It's not fucking realistic. It's not feasible that they could do that. Whether or not they thought that the knowledge was good or whatever, there has to be credibility with anything that United do, and there's none. Even if they was like, do you know what, fucking hell, yeah, I think they could do something, it just wouldn't happen. So I'm never going to get offered a job by United.
Yeah,
I have been offered stuff by the media team. I don't want to work there because you do have to fucking watch what you say, and I'm not going to watch what I fucking say, especially when it comes to our owners. So no. Super chat here from Rock says, your arrogance is alarming here, speaking for all Newcastle fans like you're some sort of expert. Sort your own club out, chubby cheeks. See, they're on here. Why are you watching the United channel, you fucking melon? Trying to sort some rivalry.
Say thanks for the $5.
Yeah, cheers for the $5. Fucking sausage. Scroll back up. So, all I can see is, you've not refuted a single thing that I said. Speaking here for all Newcastle fans like you're some sort of expert. What was I wrong on? You tell me what I was wrong on.
Like, literally all your interactions on social media, on Twitter with Newcastle fans have been exactly how you described. And I've seen it myself. They've piped up a hell of a lot.
You got anything bar a cliche? Anything of note bar a cliche? Oh, the Glazers have spent $1 billion. Spent more on debt. Next question. And then we know. And it's not necessarily. It's not about what you spend. It's about how you spend it. Christian Eriksen was a free transfer.
Yeah.
There's ways of managing the football. The facilities are poor. The communication with the club and the fans is poor. The treatment of the fans is poor. You know, the whole direction that this football club has gone through in the last 18 years is poor and backwards. Factually. It's not, if you just look at the Glazers have spent $1 billion. The Glazers have spent nothing, you prick. Nothing. No. They've taken $1.5 billion out and allowed the club to spend $1 billion of its own fucking money. Factually. They put nothing in. If you can't understand the difference, maybe you should get to fucking bed earlier. Or ask an adult to fucking explain.
Do you know what though? I don't think people don't necessarily say the Glazers have, but they say United have. That might be the argument. United spent a bill transfer window. It's obviously there've been a lot of Ed Woodward signings in that. There's been a lot of mishaps. A lot of the players that we've spent our money on.
Scroll that back up and see that super chat. Kian says, sort Stretford FC customer service out, Steve. I only received my top after 7.5 months today. Paid customs in Ireland today. I ordered a top on the 1st of December 22. Right. Well, if you order a top, you know there's literally like no fucking staff here. It is an amateur football team. If you order a top from Stretford Paddock, we will post it out probably within 2 or 3 days, right? That's about how long it takes. Unless it was like the green and gold stuff, that took fucking weeks to get through them all. Ireland, at the moment, is not accepting stuff, and whether they tell you that they've got a parcel for you or not, seems like complete fucking hit and miss. We have no control over it once it goes to Ireland and gets involved in Irish customs. For whatever reason, we do everything that we need to do. When you see the package that comes, there's all sorts of paperwork that we've had to fill out on the outside of it. Irish Customs is holding on to all the packages that come from the UK. You can order it from us, you can order it from United. It's the same fucking situation. It's nothing to do with our customer service. It's to do with Brexit. So blame Boris. There's nothing we can fucking do.
Don't mean. I actually thought that'd be there's a possibility of an announcement today though. In terms of the Mount deal. I think it will get agreed today, but I'm interested to see because this sums United up, right? Our main need going into the summer window was a striker. And not having a striker probably lost us a few points last season.
Definitely.
And we wanted to get rid of Martial. We're not going to keep Weghorst. It looked like Martial's definitely ran his course as a United player. We needed 2 strikers at the very least. We still haven't got any. We haven't been linked to that many. Looks like we've lost out on Kane. Ranjit
says, give Irish customers warning. Right, Ranjit. How do I know what the fuck's going on in Ireland? And also, there is a warning, which is on the website when you buy stuff, which says Irish gets fucked about with customs. Brian says, Steve, can you let Kane know there's an Irish Supporters Club WhatsApp group if he wants to get involved? There is an Irish Supporters WhatsApp group. We are playing Tech United in Dublin on the 5th of August. If you're in Ireland and you want to come and watch us, it's confirmed now. We are playing Tech United, T-E-K United. Don't know anything about them, but that's who we're playing. And there might be some more stuff with that as well. And before I forget, hang on, scroll back up. I need to read that comment out in a second. Right, before I forget, there is a trial tomorrow, 12 o'clock at Dixon Brooklands in Wythenshawe. Check out my socials or the club socials for the address. Okay, so the Newcastle fan that was in here earlier, dropping in a super chat called Rock, that's because of his brain. He says, there's no rivalry, you melon, and 99% of us couldn't give a fuck about you lot. We watch for the laughs. It's hilarious reacting to the sheer entitlement you have. What entitlement?
All right, so his super chat before from Rock, right?
This is a video about Mason Mount signing for United, and you're here, but you don't give a fuck about us.
Nah, listen, Rock's Fiverr super chat before was saying, why are you speaking for all Newcastle fans? And then in his next comment, he goes, there is no rivalry, Melon. 99% of us couldn't give a fuck about you, where he then speaks for 99% of Newcastle fans.
Like I said, Rock is referring to his brain. Yeah, and Lee says, you would think Newcastle fans being run by Mike Ashley for years. Yeah, you would assume you know what it's like to be under owners that don't give a fuck. How quickly you forget. There's no entitlement. What entitlement do you think we're talking about here? We just sit here for the first 20 minutes of the show talking tactically about how Arsenal and Manchester City will play. Might have been a bit too intellectual for you, Rock. Maybe that's why you just decided to chat a lot of shit. Kick-off time, it's 2 or 3 o'clock. Don't worry about it. It's 2 or 3 o'clock and then we're on the smash.
Do you reckon Rock's subscribed?
Probably. It doesn't give a fuck about us, but he's got notifications on. And if you don't give a fuck about us as well, make sure you subscribe and put notifications on. Will Chelsea accept our bid? Yeah, I think they will, to be honest.
They've literally got no choice, no leverage. Mason Mount said he's not signing a new contract. They'll lose him for free next year. He's going. I feel like even 55 million probably overpaid a tiny little bit.
Yeah, I think he's getting ready to boot off with Chelsea as well to make it happen.
Yeah. So I think Mart's definitely the next signing. I think we're definitively getting him. It's just about who we follow it up with, because we need a lot more than that. Striker for one. I think striker's the main one, man, but can Højlund lead the line as a number 9 straight away? Probably not. Harry Kane. 85
million for Moane. I mean, I like Moane, but again, just, how are people throwing up them sort of prices and it's 20 million for Fred?
What? All right, so can you talk me through what's Daniel Levy's play with Kane? What is he actually hoping for? Because the early reports were saying that Levy was literally saying that over his dead body he'd sell like Kane to a rival. Don't like
Daniel Levy, whether or not it's real or imagined at this point, has got the reputation of being the hardest, toughest negotiator in football. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
that might just be his opening move. I'll sell him over my dead body. You can't play that all the time and then sell people.
No, it wasn't. That comment was said. Sources said that he said that to like a mate of his. It wasn't like a brief to the media or something. It was like a source that know him said he just like, you know, like in conversation with one of his mates, he was like, I might fuck ever selling Kane to like. It wasn't like he briefed it. It looked like a genuine belief he has of like Kane, the best player they'll probably ever have, and he's like, I'm not selling him to United.
On the striker front, Josh says, Steve, you've been understandably quiet, Harry Greenwood. No, I've not. I don't want to play for the club again. Next question. He says, what's my thoughts? That's my thoughts. Ronnie, do you want to talk on it or not?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think we need to move on from Greenwood. It's just one of them things. It's a sad state of affairs, but I feel like we need to move on from that. I think there's no way he can feasibly play for us.
No,
again.
there seems to be a section of the support which is like, oh well, charges have been dropped, therefore innocent. That's not necessarily the case.
that's doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Shani No says Rock is just a pebble under Newcastle.
Muppetiz says he's pushing hard too. I guess he's talking about Mount, saying he's pushing
Nikhil,
hard.
stop it there for a scroll up, just a touch. Nikhil says if Newcastle get anywhere near top 4 and make it to the last 16 of the Champions League, I'll give them some credit. But in realness, I reckon the midweek games are going to destroy their league form. Doing both next season will be very difficult for them.
Yeah.
Kean with a super chat says that was a Glazer response. You can think it was a Glazer response all you want, or you could do a Google and just say, why are Irish customs fucking up packages from Britain? And you'll see probably loads of fucking stuff on there. Because we hit all the different like Shopify and thingies forums to see if it was a problem with us, or is it a problem that other people are getting around, and it's all over the fucking place. Richard says, Stephen, everyone deserves a second chance. Really? Oh, God.
Do you know what, if we're looking at... Goncalo Ramos is maybe an option. But maybe Scamacca on loan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I think there's... United
fee, maybe.
United feasibly need about 5-6 players in this summer window, but it's not going to happen. So we need to be clever in the market than we ever are. And we're starting it off with 50 million, probably a slight overpay for Mason Mount with 1 year left in his contract, where we're not sure whether he's a complete systematic fit. And then you sign Onana as a goalkeeper instead of Costa, who's a bit of an enigmatic maverick keeper who could be a bit of a loon. And then we've still not addressed striker issues. We've lost our main centre-half target to Bayern Munich, it looks like. Whereas City and Arsenal are getting Rice, and Chelsea getting Caicedo, and Newcastle getting Tonali and Chiesa, and it just...
and we get a new kit.
Liverpool are getting McAllister and Gravenberch and Thuram, and then United look like, on the back of the window compared to the rivals, we could be in a little bit of trouble.
Could be, yeah. Every window is massive. The Premier League's moving so fast that if you bend down and tie your shoelace, 7 people will overtake you.
Yeah, no.
You know, there's a very real chance if United misstep this summer, you might find yourselves underneath Brighton. Like, legitimately.
With the money flying around now in the Premier League, the teams that are about mid-table and up, they can do some damage. They can do some damage.
Levi says, everybody don't forget to vote for Garnacho in the Golden Boy Award or something. Martian says, he will get his second chance away from the club.
If you scroll up a little bit.
First and second chance to amend.
Saw Ronaldo somewhere.
Yeah, some Adam Hutchison says, don't make me change my opinion of you.
Can you elaborate on that, Adam? Don't make me change my opinion of you. Elaborate, please, my guy. I reckon it's slander. It's probably slander, and he's thinking, he's made a good point. Don't let me change my opinion.
Trying to see some more comments here. Red says, why is everyone panicking 10 days into the window when only Liverpool and Arsenal have signed anyone in this window? Probably because we had a lot of work to do, I think it's fair to say. Probably because they're all back at training a week on Saturday. Is it? They're all back? Yeah.
Someone says Jonathan David. He's gone. Do you know what? Jonathan David's had no links to anyone.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because
he had a poor World Cup. He was hot until the World Cup, and then he stunk the place out of the World Cup, and everyone shut up on him, which is the wrong thing to do, judging a guy on 4 or 5 games.
But he had a great season.
Yeah.
Statistically, he had a great season last season.
That was the one that was in the public eye. It's like, look at how everyone's all hot on Onana because he had a decent Champions League final.
In that Champions League campaign.
Yeah. But, like, it's when everyone's watching. If you do something when everybody's watching, it gets blown up out of proportion.
Aero. Go back to Aero. Oops. It says Ronaldo. Ronaldo, this one is for you, buddy. How can you feel with City treble 89 points, United treble only has 79 points. I don't know what you're asking me, mate. Can you rephrase that in English?
What are they? How can you feel when City trebles 89 points? Well, here's the thing. Factually, the Premier League has had a points drift. It was far more competitive early doors when teams were spending a similar amount
Go
of
up
money.
a little bit again.
United were champions with the 8th highest spend in the league.
Whereas
Someone
asked me something again.
The points, like Chelsea's points under Conte was higher than Mourinho's. Are you prepared to have an argument that Chelsea team was the last Chelsea team to win it? Are you prepared to have an argument that they're going to have it? Mark is on about Goncalo Ramos pulling himself off all over Twitter. That probably is something enough to stop United signing him.
Adam Muchas says he doesn't like the Skamaka suggestion because he thinks that's Weghorst 2.0.
Well, for starters, he's always outscored what Weghorst has done.
I think Skamaka scored like 8 goals in 17 starts for West Ham last season. He just didn't really get played. So, I don't know. I'm just thinking of options because by the looks of it, I think Martial could still be at United next season by necessity.
So, Theo Turgus in the comments says, so rich hearing Steve calling sports washing. What was Iraq in 2003? Not sports washing. At all. Are you fucking concussed?
Alright, go. He's explained. Aero says, Ronaldo can't handle that City have higher points total. That's how it works, mate. The higher total points in the league wins. No, that's not how it works. You both get the same trophy. And you both win the title. It's the points total thing.
Yeah, but this United, like, right. Jose Mourinho's Manchester United got 81 points when Ashley Young was captain. If you can come and with a straight face tell me that was better than United's treble-winning side and convince me, I'll give you anything you want. You can't. Factually, there's been a points drift. The teams at the top take more points than the teams at the bottom, and there is more of a gap between the teams at the bottom and the teams at the top, right? Factually. United's team got 8, so City's treble was more points, yeah. Ashley Young's United was more points than the fucking treble. Why do you think that is? The league's not as fucking competitive. No further questions.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we should wrap up.
Yep.
Especially,
Last one.
Especially got bored now because I ain't seen Rock in the comments.
He's gone.
I think you sent him packing. Cheers for the $5 though.
Yeah, nice one, you bellend. Cheers everyone tuning in. Thanks everyone who subscribed. I'm off on holiday as of Sunday, but I'll probably be doing videos live still because probably won't be much else to do, and I imagine there's going to be lots to cover. So there'll be videos every day still while I'm away. So make sure to tune in. I'll see you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.